reports coming out that Jon Jones, the light heavyweight, well, former champ, that was supposed to square off with DC, that got pulled off. That, we all heard about his failed sample. We don't know what it was. Then B sample was confirmed, both positive for the same shit, except we don't know what it is. Well, on the Joe Rogan podcast, Chael Sonnen was on there, and him and Joe were talking about the whole situation, what was going on, and what it could be. And then Chael comes out and says that what was found in the B sample was estrogen blockers. Now, you might be like, well, the fuck is that? Isn't estrogen what women have, And that's not a steroid. Well, yeah, you're correct. Bitches do have estrogen, but so do we. And it's not a steroid either. It turns out what they're saying is that anytime you hear of estrogen blockers, and yes, it is on the banned substances, it's always 100% because of steroids. And they say because this is to block, or not block, but when you're coming off a cycle, or when you're on steroids, you're getting a lot of tests and you're getting a lot of estrogen in your body. And what happens is your body shuts off, or it stops producing as much because you're getting it artificially. And what happens is when you stop your cycle, you're no longer on it and you're coming off of it, you need to block all that estrogen that's coming in. And because we all know, you take steroids, it can kind of change change the sex, give you bitch tits if you're a guy, make your balls and dick shrink. We've all heard it, and it is true to some effect. But anyways, the way Chael was explaining it is, it does basically that. When you're on steroids, you're getting artificial, estrogen and testosterone in your body, so you're good. Your body's like, alright, you don't need to produce it because you already have it there, so I'm just gonna chill. And then when you start coming off of it, you need to block all that estrogen too, and you also need to get back on your own test levels, get them kind of more normal, and you kind of have the balance. You can't be having an off balance of too much estrogen to too much testosterone, because then you're just a female. You're just a bitch, You're Canelo Alvarez. So what happens is, when they find that, they're like, there's no other reason to take estrogen blocker unless you were just coming off the steroids. And we all know Chael Sonnen knows a thing or two about the juice, because he himself was busted, 2-year suspension, and he was talking about the same situation he was in. He's like, I was going through the same exact scenario when I was about to be popped. He's like, my A sample came back dirty. They went off and tested B sample. He's like, I was just hoping that their new test that they had wasn't good enough to catch it, because technically he wasn't on the steroids because he was already coming off of them. But the estrogen blocker was to level out the estrogen levels, so it wouldn't look like he was on something, and for he wouldn't get bitch tits as well. So he says, I found out the test was that good, so they popped me, I failed. And with Jon Jones, he didn't say himself what it was. If it was a over-the-counter tainted supplement, had something that wasn't on the list, that they add to, make it work better, they will give you like a 6-month suspension, and they'll ask you to turn in whatever supplements that you took so they can test them themselves. And if they do find something in the supplements that you gave them, they will go into the manufacturer and test, or go to the place that you bought them off the shelf, buy the exact same thing and test it, just to see if it wasn't tainted with, just to see if you're not trying to pull a fast one on them either. But none of that has happened. And why? Jon Jones kept his mouth shut about that. Why didn't he say? Because he knew it'd be looking bad, and it is. Also, Brendan Schaub, the fighter, and the kid, on their podcast, they were saying the same exact shit, or Brendan Schaub was. He's like, look, I'm a fighter. We know everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people, juice. Nate Diaz himself said everyone's on steroids, but they're saying, they know enough. They're professional fighters themselves. they've fought in, or are current fighters, and in Sonnen's case, he's done the same exact shit. He's juiced up himself. So Brendan Schaub was saying, he's like, not only is it 100% sure, he's like, I'm 110% sure. He's like, you do not see estrogen blockers unless you are coming off a cycle of something. You know? So that's basically what it is. And when you think of this, people label Jon Jones as the greatest mixed martial art fighter of all time, because, you know, MMA hasn't been around too long, you know, at least the UFC. 20 years compared to fight sports like boxing, been around for, you know, so much longer. And when you have the potential best fighter of your sport coming up dirty, you know, that reminds me exactly of Lance Armstrong and his whole situation on, you know, he was just dominating everyone like Jones was. And he was winning all these Tour de France's. I think he won like seven total. I don't know if they're all in a row, but just a crazy, you know, amount of races. And there'd been allegations that, yeah, you know, there's something going on over there with Team Lance, and former teammates were like, yeah, we've seen him do something, or something going on, but no proof. Well, Jon Jones, he's never failed, but people were like, man, if he's fucking partying, getting drunk, doing fucking coke, man, he obviously doesn't give a fuck what he puts in his body, you know? And if it's gonna actually help him instead of hurting him, because the drugs are hurting him. But if he can take something that's actually gonna fucking, you know, make him a better person or fighter, whether it gives you a little bit of advantage, you know, we all know he was doing that crazy weightlifting, looking all swole. You know, people are saying he's gonna do it. You know, especially when there's money on the line to be made. Of course he's gonna do it. You know, he don't give a fuck. So, you know, that, I mean, basically everyone's saying. Rashad Evans also said, you know, estrogen blocker, that's steroids. Boom. So we have Chael Sonnen saying it, Brendan Schaub saying it. I mean, and we still have to wait to hear what Jon Jones himself says. But of course he had that chance, you know. He didn't say anything, but, you know, maybe his PR rep was telling him to shut the fuck up. And I'm sure that's exactly what happened, but why would he be up there kind of open to questions like that without really having an answer? Or at least coming clean or saying, you know, this is what happened. But anyways, estrogen blockers, everyone's saying it's 110%, 100% sure that that's what it is. You don't have estrogen blockers unless you're on the juice. So, interesting to see. I mean, is he going to be a fraud just like Lance Armstrong? Or is there really some legitimate reason to why that's what he has? You know, why did he need it? But, I mean, or is it even true? But that's what they're saying, so I guess we gotta wait and see. And maybe someone else will confirm it out of his own team. Maybe he himself can fucking come clean and say what's going on. Alright guys, Third Coast Boxing, I'm out.